Hi everyone, this is Narcissist Red Flags, the blue, yellow, green paradigm. So this is what I call it. So a narcissist will take a yellow piece of paper and put it in front of your face and say it's a blue piece of paper. And when you argue back with them or just say back to them using rational, logical thinking, no, that's a yellow piece of paper. They will continue to argue with you and they will use different tactics to try to convince you. For instance, they might say, no, you're colorblind. And then you will start to actually, even though you know for a fact that it is a yellow piece of paper, a narcissist will actually get you to start thinking, maybe I am colorblind. Maybe I do see colors wrong. Even though it's never happened before in your life, even though maybe you've even been tested and you know you're not colorblind, the narcissist will actually argue with you in such pervasive ways, in such intense ways sometimes, that they will get you to start thinking, no, maybe I am wrong. So you'll continue to argue, and the narcissist will either do one of two things. A narcissist will either hang on to the fact that it is a blue piece of paper, even though it clearly isn't, and they will never back down from that stance or that position. And because of their not backing down, that inherently gets you to question yourself, because you start to think, well, if somebody is that certain that this is a blue piece of paper, then maybe it really is. Or a narcissist will do something else. And if you've been close to a narcissist, you have experienced something to this effect. The narcissist will then relent and say, okay, maybe it's not a blue piece of paper, but it's a green piece of paper. And they will use some backwards bullshit logic. They'll make some kind of argument that blue and yellow make green. See, they won't actually let you be right. They won't relent to the truth. They won't admit they were wrong, or obviously, because if they do admit that that is a yellow piece of paper, then what are they doing? They're inherently admitting one of two things. Either they have a huge flaw, which they can't see colors, or most likely that they were manipulating you and that they had an agenda and they were trying to get you to believe it was a blue piece of paper for their own hidden agenda. So for those two reasons combined, or one of the two, or both, they won't ever admit that it's a yellow piece of paper. But like I said, if they ever relent, they'll use some kind of backwards logic and only relent to it being a green piece of paper, saying yellow and blue make green. So this is really a green piece of paper. And I used this. I remember when I first started to uncover about narcissism, even though I had studied psychology and I knew about cluster B personality disorders, we didn't really go over it a lot in classes, and I didn't really see it as the pervasive problem that it really is in society, and the ramifications, and how many people, it's a fair amount of people that are sociopaths or narcissists. And I had encountered narcissists. Looking back, I now realize it. I had even been narcissistically abused in the past, but it wasn't until my ex-husband, the masks started flying off with this man that I truly trusted and loved, that it all, hit me. That trauma, that collapse that most people have after going through a relationship or a long period of time being close to a narcissist or sociopath, and seeing the masks coming off and the trauma that exists after. That collapse was what inspired me to finally see what narcissism and sociopathy really was. And it was hard. And I remember when I was going through this initial period of uncovering all of these this other man, this other person that my ex-husband was. And then looking back in my past and seeing the other narcissists and sociopaths that had been in my life, and seeing the wreckage and chaos that they had in my life, that's when I started bringing up this thing about the yellow blue piece of paper. Because it was as though my ex-husband, I would say it all the time. I would tell my friends this. Most of my friends didn't understand. I even told him this at one point. Nearly everything that was brought up, either it be what he had done the night before, cheating, things he had smear campaigned on me, lies he had said, whatever it was constantly as though he was putting a piece of yellow paper in front of my face and saying it was blue. And then telling me I was wrong. That I was colorblind. That I couldn't see right. And this is a form of gaslighting. Actually, it's the most inherent and malicious form of gaslighting. It is really gaslighting. But it's something more than that. Because this type of what I call the blue, yellow, green paradigm is not just about them gaslighting you. And this is where it gets really kind of pathological, and this is where it's very deep and insidious and pervasive and dark. This paradigm is where you start to gaslight yourself. Let me explain. For most people that have been involved with narcissist or sociopath, especially intimately, either as like a parent, a very close friend, a very, very close colleague, and especially a spouse or a partner, there comes this time where we have so little trust in our own perception, and we have been manipulated for so long that we don't know what is up from down and left from right, that we are so confused that we start to buy into the gaslighting that our partner or the person in our life is inflicting on us. But there is this point in time where you may, and for some people it's early on, some people it happens later, where you deep down know the paper's yellow. You never truly buy into the fact that your partner or the narcissist is telling the truth. You're never fully fooled. Deep down, you know that piece of paper is yellow. Deep down, when you go to bed, you remember back to that piece of paper, and you know with absolute certainty that it was a yellow piece of paper. However, we will start to almost get into a form of denial, and we will start to convince ourselves. We will take on the manipulation, behavior, and philosophy and modes of thinking of the narcissist and actually gaslight ourselves and convince ourselves this higher, the more external or more extroverted, rather, part of who we are, we'll start to believe it. Even though internally we know, deep down, when we're quiet, when we're going to bed, when we're alone with our thoughts, we know that it's a yellow piece of paper. We will actually start to live our lives, and we will relent to the narcissist. We will even relent to ourselves. I did it many times, and all the clients that I work with, that I started working with, that's specific to having endured narcissistic abuse and working on healing and talking about the relationship and working through it, they all cite some form of this type of the blue, yellow, green paradigm, where not only were they being gaslit by their partner or their ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, ex-husband, but they were, in essence, gaslighting themselves. And when we start to gaslight ourselves, when we start to actually go into such a state of survival mode, because the trauma has gotten so great, the manipulation has become so huge and so much a part of our lives that is actually becoming a part of who we are and the way we think. And we start to actually create a sub-reality because it's easier to do that, or because we don't want to piss off our partner, or we're just desperate to make things good, or we want peace, or we're trying so hard to claw our way back to where we started with this person. The love bombing and the love and the friendship and the camaraderie and the passion, that we want it so bad that we actually start to deceive ourselves and go into such a state of denial that we are gaslighting ourselves. This is where it becomes truly damaging. This is where, and this is the problem, if we don't pay attention, if we're not aware, if we don't do the right things to heal, if you get with the wrong therapist who further traumatizes you, if you don't find the right support, either through a coach or a therapist or a friend or a family member, which it's hard to get a friend or family member to support you because they don't understand, this is what we can take away from the relationship and the abuse that will impact our next relationships, that will negatively influence our life. This is where it can become pathological for us, where we can actually start to traumatize ourselves as we move forward. So this narcissist, this ex-sociopath is gone. We've initiated no contact. They're out of our lives, let's say. But we still carry with ourselves something, this gift that they gave us, this evil, malicious gift, malignant gift they gave us. And this is where we have to be really careful. And we have to be very aware, and it's going to hurt like hell. But you know what? If you're going through narcissistic abuse or have gone through it, but especially if you're going through it right now, know that the fact that it hurts this bad means that you're actually facing it. I have worked with and met several people who went through several narcissistic relationships. And sometimes there's a pattern, stuff from early childhood, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sometimes we are the common denominator. But some of the clients or some of the people I've met or worked with, I don't necessarily know that they had an inherent issue which drew to them more than one narcissistic relationship, or several people that were narcissists and sociopaths that were close to them, either it be spouses, relationships, friends, so on. But I do know one thing, that the reason why they come to me at a place now of finally facing it, where there's an immense pain and confusion and hurt, and they want to heal, the pain had to get really bad in order to reach out for help, in order to face all of this. But the reason why this is now their second or third narcissist that they've been involved with is more because those first two times they got out of the relationship, and yeah, maybe it hurt, yeah, maybe it was hard, but it wasn't like this time. And why is this time different than the last two times? Even if the narcissist prior was more abusive. And that's because when they got out of the relationship, those prior ones, they weren't being self-aware. They were still living in a state of some denial, and they were still gaslighting themselves to a certain degree. They never faced it head on, and therefore the immense pain never happened. And because that immense pain and trauma never happened consciously, it was there subconsciously, but they didn't deal with it. And therefore, that meant that they weren't getting over it, that they were still living in it. And when you're in something, you can't see the forest for the trees. So one of the takeaways from the blue-yellow paradigm in talking about this is to know that the fact that you're in such immense pain and hurt and trauma and confusion and frustration and heartbreak and all of these many, verbs that I could, or adjectives that I could give you to describe how you feel. The fact that you feel this extreme and this intense is actually, I know it doesn't do much justice in the moment when you're feeling it, but it's a good sign. It means you've peeled back the layers. You're facing it for real. It means that you're not gaslighting yourself anymore, and that's why it hurts, because you're seeing reality. It means that all that trauma and shit that was there, that could have been there subconsciously, is now conscious. Some people, the first narcissist, the first sociopathic relationship or person close to them, they deal with it. They're hurt. They deal with it. Some, it's the second, third, fourth. But know that once you get to that place of immense trauma and hurt, that this is the sign that says, you know, and it might take you 6 months. It might take you 12 months. It may take you 2 years to work through it, but that's okay. Because this means you're coming to a place of reality. You're bringing the subconscious to a conscious level. You're learning. You're going to seek support because you're going to need it. You are going to, most importantly, stop living in a state of denial. Stop gaslighting yourself. And therefore, it's not ever going to happen again. I don't know that I would put my money on this because everybody has free will and free choice. But I am nearly certain that for most people that are listening to this, that are tacking this head on, that are feeling that immense pain and therefore making the subconscious conscious, and being honest with yourself and no longer skewing your own perception to fit your agenda, which your agenda previously was to not see who that person really was, or your agenda was to fool yourself into believing that the relationship was something other than it was because it was too painful to recognize it as anything else. And the fact that you're in this much pain, you know, propels you to a place. The journey is what's important. And by virtue of going through it, these are the things that are going to give you the tools, the awareness, the confidence in yourself and your perception to be, you know, it's more than just watching videos and learning red flags to avoid people. It has to do with something much bigger than that about avoiding narcissists, and that is being fully aware. And your intuition will just kick in. Your intuition will kick in. And probably, and I spoke about this in a couple other videos, your intuition was screaming at you or whispering very quietly. I always hear those two extremes. When you first met your narcissist or sociopath, especially if you were romantically involved with the narcissist. And there was, you know, an intuitive thought in your head somewhere, some way, little weird things that didn't add up or for no reason that you ignored. And so by virtue of the immense pain and trauma that you're going through or just went through or are about to go through, know that the journey and the process of that will allow your intuition to speak freely, and you will pay homage to it and you will listen to it. And more than memorizing traits and looking for, you know, because you don't want to get too crazy with this. Everybody has a spectrum of some of these personality traits. And you don't want to start looking at everybody as a narcissist because not everybody is. And discrediting everyone that comes in your life because hopefully one day, 1 month, 10 months, 5 years down the road, you know, the point of healing is to have love back in your life and have that hope and dream that the narcissist mirrored to you. And that's why you feel so bad and feel so hurt because that dream feels broken and gone. You want to heal to get to that for real next time. So you don't want to just start discrediting everybody and saying, here's the red flags and I see this in you and this in you, gone, because it's just going to become an intellectual sabotage that we're going to do to ourselves. What we want to do is become aware, become enlightened, become educated, but then let that just be, and then let our intuition take over. So once you get to the other side of this trauma and this process, once you get to that other side, like I said, there's no time frame for everybody. It's different, and it all depends on the person. It really, truly depends on the amount of support you have too. I have clients that 3 months ago when I first started all this, and I got my first few clients for narcissistic abuse. I mean, I have been life coaching and I'd gotten this ID years ago, and working with like divorced women a lot and corporate coaching. I had a whole bunch of clients at a few corporations. But I started working specifically in narcissistic abuse because when I went through it myself, I saw how incredibly difficult it was to find a therapist or somebody to offer me support. And it's something that's very unique. And I had clients when I first started, my first few clients I got about 3-4 months ago when I first started focusing on life coaching specifically with narcissistic abuse clients, that told me they feel like they'll never heal. And 3 or 4 months later, and this is after a year plus of feeling that way, they're starting to feel different. Because support and being directed in the right, and validation is so huge. And just having somebody reinforce the educational part of it. So anyway, this video got way too long, but keep that in mind about the blue, yellow, green paradigm. And remember that one of the most evil and malignant parts of the narcissist or sociopath in your life was not their own gaslighting of you. It was that they actually shaped your energy, your way of thinking, manipulated you, and you carried that to gaslight yourself. And by shedding that and seeing truth, seeing everything as it really is inside yourself and with the narcissist and within your life and within people in general, this is the path to freedom. And it may not feel like it in the moment. It may not feel like it when you're on the bathroom floor crying naked. I mean, seriously, I laugh, but I mean, I've been there. Like, it may not feel like that when you're in the midst of the trauma, but believe me, it is. It is like that. You will get to the other side by feeling this. Okay, so I wish everybody the best. I have a couple of, I have a little bit of extra time because I got rid of my corporate life coaching. I just felt like after I started to work with narcissistic abuse, I hate saying victim survivors, and working just with, people who have been affected by toxic people, and especially in relationships. And it was so meaningful. I mean, it's so meaningful. This is such deep stuff. It has to do with people. I don't know if this is still recording. It is. Okay, sorry. My phone just went off, and I don't know if you heard it. But this is such meaningful, deep stuff that it seemed like a joke for me to go back. Good money. It seemed like a joke, going back into corporate life coaching. So feel free to contact me. I have a little bit of extra time. I have a lot of emails to sort through, and if you have contacted me, I promise you I will get back to you, and I will try my very best to fit you in. I think I can, I got rid of 20 clients with the corporate, there's 2 corporations I was working for, so I could take on another 20 clients, which is quite a bit. And I already have 10 waiting, so contact me if you need help. I would love to help you. Okay, everybody. Namaste. Much love.